This video is how to create an MSA in Quantum Excel without using the MSA template. For this example, I will be using three operators. For this example, I will be using three operators, 2 trials, and 5 parts. That's much smaller than the typical MSA, but I used a smaller number of trials and parts in order to make it fit on the screen easier. Because I'm going to have 3 operators, 2 trials, and 5 parts, that's going to be a total of 30 different measurements that are going to be required to conduct this MSA. On the left-hand side is the setup that you need to create inside of an Excel spreadsheet in order to bypass using the template. Notice that there is a column for operator or appraiser. There's another column for trial or replicate. There's another column for the part designation. And then finally, there's a measurement column where you actually enter the measurement for the MSA. I then have to create the pattern that is dictated by the number of operators, trials, and parts that I have. Because each operator is going to measure 5 parts 2 times, there needs to be 10 rows for each operator. So you can see that on the left-hand side, I have 10 entries of operator A. And then underneath that, there are 10 entries of operator B. And then finally, there's also 10 entries of operator C. And then each operator is going to measure each part 2 times. Therefore, I need to see 5 entries for trial 1 and 5 entries for trial 2, where the part sequence is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can see that operator A is going to measure part 1 not just once, but also a second time. That pattern is repeated, so there are then 5 trial 1s, 5 trial 2s for operator B, and then the sequence of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts, and then again 1 through 5 parts as well, and then finally 5 trial 1s and 5 trial 2s for operator C, and then the sequence of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is repeated twice for operator C. Now I would go conduct this MSA by setting Now I would go and conduct this MSA by setting operator A to Now we'd go and conduct this MSA by having operator A measure part 1 and then recording that value in this cell. Of course, this should be done in a random order. The easiest way to do this in Excel is to insert a new column, and we'll call this column random. Our goal here is to create a random order that we collect the data for the MSA. So if I come into this random column and I type equals rand, it's going to generate a uniformly distributed random number between 0 and 1. If I copy that down, then each one of these rows will be designated a random number. If I then select all this data and I go and sort the data based upon the first column, which is random, I am now putting the sequence of measurements in a random order since I'm sorting on a random order. And as you can see now, I have a randomized order for my MSA. So if I wanted to conduct my MSA in a random order, I no longer need the random column. I would have operator B measure part 3 and then put the number in the cell to the right. Perhaps I get a 99.8. Then I would have operator A measure part 5 and I would get a 99.4. I would continue this until I had all of my data and then I would be ready for analysis. One of the key advantages of using this method over the template method is that you can have multiple measurements. So for example, let's say that I'm measuring a part and there's 10 critical dimensions. I could type in here measurement number 1 or the name of the actual critical dimension. And then I could copy that across and I could have 10 different measurements and I would only have to have one spreadsheet to hold 10 different measurements. If I was using the MSA template, I would need to have 10 different templates. While thus using this method is more complicated than creating an MSA template, but it also gives you more power mostly around the ability to create an easy random sequence and the ability to have more than one measurement. And that is how you create a MSA spreadsheet without using the MSA template.